There's a divide between the perception of diversity in media sometimes, based on who kind of controls that presentation of diversity, and then what diversity means to people who are actually diverse. You know, like if you were to ask anybody from Scarborough, is it a diverse place? If you were to ask me, I'd say no, everybody looks like me.
You know, there's almost a limbo space, the way I think about it, right? There's the culture of our parents, and for me, where I was born and where I came from, and then there's the culture of the place that we currently live. There's that place in between where there's a bit of confusion of how do I fit into all of this? I was born in India, kind of in South India. I was born in Goa, but my parents are from the States just south of there. And I moved here when I was 4 or 5 years old. I think a lot of what I observed corresponds to kind of what they tell me is, you know, not a lot of time for the kids and more time just trying to make money and survive, really. You know, classic, trying to make the ends meet while trying to adjust to a completely new culture.
My mom came from India, South India, and my dad came from Trinidad. They both came here separately at different parts in the 80s. And taking the first job they can get, taking the first basement apartment they can find, moving multiple times in a year, you know, not knowing what's gonna happen next, if they're gonna get deported, if they're gonna, you know, if this green card's gonna hold up, if this and that, you know, all of these different things, a lot of which they're not telling you while you're growing up. Where we live right now was just farms or just, you know, the Rouge. It was just a big forest that was used for lumber for the last 200 years up until the last 50 years, really. We've discovered these kind of distinct locations throughout our time as kids, moving into teens, moving into young adults. You know, like I still find new things out there every time we go out. There was a lot of freedom there for us to kind of explore physically, but also find out things about ourselves along the way in ways that we didn't know at the time. As you get older, you're able to sort of have that reflection where you're like, oh, this is something that's contributing to how I'm able to identify myself.
I think we met in grade 4. We weren't in the same class.
Yeah.
I think I met him on the way to school or on the way home from school. Much like I think we've done for most of our lives, is we follow the same path, both literally and figuratively, I think. Yeah. You know, so I must have seen him on the way to school because there's only one way to get to Fleming Public School. Yeah. It's funny, I remember Kevin more than I remember myself at that time. You know, you can tell the way he talks now, but I think even the way he articulated himself at that time, you know, the quality of thought was beyond the things I was thinking about.
A lot of time we spent together was playing video games. So seeing the way that he kind of would meticulously be able to just hone in and just like accomplish the task that needs to be done in whatever video game that we need to do. Like I've never ever failed at any game that we played. There was a lot of like complementary team building during those times that you could see unfolding and kind of providing that easy transition into our artistic pursuits. The sum of our parts is actually amounts to something greater.
The Wave Art Collective is a group of artists, educators, mobilizers, and academics who are focused on facilitating arts in Scarborough. And the way we do that is we have a formal creative arts incubator called the Wave Art Fellowship. And we also just make artwork, videos, music, installation under our Wave Art Collective banner. So watching TV with the mind off was kind of my first foray into experimental documentary. And so my goal with it was, yes, to kind of do this very natural interview and a little bit less formal, and to combine that with both kind of very contemporary digital video as well as 16mm film, figure out if I could do it and see how those things fit together.
I don't know. Never explain why. Well, not because of that, like, those bullshit answers, like it's therapeutic or it's a release. Fuck all that shit. No, it's stress. For most part, it's not fun. But like, there's that one moment. There's literally, in every hot song you make, there's that one moment in time when you hear the first 4-bar loop repeat for the first time through your ears, and then you just get red in your head, and then you just like, doesn't matter if it's a slow jam or if it's like a trap, like you just hear that shit, and then you can't move, you can't stop moving your head, and then yeah, you have to compose yourself. That's literally it. That little, like, it's actually like 2 seconds out of every 3 months or 1 year maybe, or whatever. That's it.
You know, in terms of the Wave Art Fellowship and the Wave Runners program, there were 3 iterations of the program. The first iteration was very loose. It was video and music, and we were just figuring things out. That transitioned into the Wave Runners program number 2, which had a bit more structure, and that led to Wave 1, which was the end exhibition that we had at Scarborough Arts. Essentially what it boiled down to was half of the group were a part of the video photo group, and the other half were a part of a music production group. And so we took 6 and 6 young folks who were interested in each thing and mentored them on kind of the technical aspects of each of those mediums. We started mentoring them in terms of grant writing, and the last part of it was just giving them space to practice these things and also have a community to meet up and kind of co-create. Yeah. So the age range of the mentees has always been between around 16 and 24. And age is maybe less important than maturity, I guess, for us. But the other thing was, you know, just as a testament to the desire for arts in Scarborough, we had a lineup outside and we couldn't even fit everyone inside. And so clearly for us, it was an indication that, oh, people want to experience art in this community, they just maybe have not had the opportunity to.
Something that I've realized in the past 5 years especially is that, like, that limbo state that we've been talking about, where it's like it's very hard for us to pin down our belonging, where we are, where we come from, who we are. It's so much easier to explore that in an artistic space. My artistic identity and my personal identity are just, they're one and the same. You know, I can explore who it is I am through the lens of art rather than trying to navigate it through these preconceived notions. A lot of that comes from the freedom of art to be able to do things that haven't been done or haven't been portrayed before.
Maybe 10 years ago, 5 years ago, we felt so far removed from downtown that it was such a black box. We're trying to find an arts community. Let's figure out what it's like down there. And to be honest, it was always so difficult to still figure it out. It's like, let me take my hour-and-a-half transit ride on a good day to figure out what the actual art community is, because that's where the art community is, right? There's nothing here, I guess. For the third iteration of our Wave Art Fellowship, it culminates in a book which is called The New Normal on the Margins. We had 4 photographers and we had 4 writers, and because of COVID and because of the fact that we couldn't actually meet up, maybe we should actually this year make the folks kind of work towards a specific topic to give it some direction. And at that time, what we were curious about is, like, what is the experience of living in the new normal at that time, which was kind of being in lockdown and COVID? What is that experience on the margins of the city? Some of the work that is in there is, there's mixed kind of photojournalism and written works about some of the evictions that were going on in Crescent Town at that time.
The book was something that we were doing before the pandemic, but this specifically was mostly in adapting to the pandemic. We couldn't do an in-person exhibition, let alone an in-person program. So we decided to change the music arm to writing and have it be kind of featured all together in this art book, which would be basically the replacement for having an in-person exhibition. It's funny, the Rouge Park has been one of those things that we've stylized and we've used as a backdrop. As time goes on and you have more time to reflect on your projects, as well as, learning more about the history of Scarborough, learning more about the immigrant history of Scarborough.
So Where the Trees Speak is a kind of outdoor audiovisual installation that we're working on for Nuit Blanche 2022, and it's meant to be to use kind of the Rouge Park, which is where we grew up, as a metaphor for migration in Scarborough. The goal is to continue to make installations and expand that out, and find new ways to engage community and tell stories and be true to those stories. But getting a story out of someone who's a migrant is not as simple as asking someone an everyday question. Ultimately, for me, it boils down to, okay, how do I build that tool for success, or maybe even a tool for self-reflection through art? And we're still trying to figure it out, but there's so much there that I don't think we'll ever figure it out, and it'll be an endless life pursuit.